Welcome to another episode of Computer Science. We are doing Chapter 2, Data Transmission. In the previous video, we looked at methods of data transmission, and we covered simplex transmission, we covered half duplex, we covered full duplex transmission. And remember, we said simplex, it sends data in one direction only, and we said half duplex, it sends data in both directions but not at the same time, right? So it's either you're sending from A to B or you're sending from B to A. It exchanges. And then full duplex, we said it is a method of transmission that is capable of sending data in both directions at the same time. So that is full duplex. So today we want to look at the next unit, which is USB, So USB, it stands for Universal Serial Bus, right? It stands for Universal Serial Bus. So this is the standard in which we use to communicate data. So that is USB. So for us to discuss this unit fully, there are only simple four keywords that we should discuss, right? And then after that, we'll look at the advantages and disadvantages of a USB. So the first one being a USB port, right? So on your computer, it can be laptop or desktop. There is that port which allows you to plug in the Ethernet cable, right? That socket which allows you to plug in the USB cable, not Ethernet, the USB cable. This is what referred to as the USB port, right? So these days you can even find a USB port on an adapter, right? You can also find it on a laptop, desktop. You can find it again in car radios and so forth. There are so many appliances these days which now supports the functionality of USB. Even in some mini radios and so forth, we have these USB ports. So it is defined as a socket that is part of a device, right, or computer that enables you to plug in the USB cable or to insert the USB cable. So that is the USB port. We also have the USB cable, So the USB cable simply refers to, that cable that makes it possible for you to transmit data between your laptop and your phone. This is what we are referring to as the USB cable, right? So in actual definition, it says it is a type of transmission media that uses the USB method to transmit data, right? It is a type of transmission media. This time around, it is wire, right? This is a wired transmission media. It's not wireless. So it's just a transmission media that allows you to transmit data using the methods of USB, the method of USB. So that is the USB cable. And usually USB cables, they are limited in length, right? They are limited in length. They are limited to around should be 3 to 5 meters. So we'll look at that when we do the advantages and disadvantages. So that's a USB cable. We also have a USB connection, right? A USB connection. So a USB connection, now when you are now able to transmit photos from your phone to your laptop, right, you would have established a USB connection. Or when you are now able to transmit information from your laptop to your phone, right, using a USB connection, using a USB cable, you have successfully established a USB connection. So it is defined as a collective name for a USB cable plugged into a USB port, right, to transfer data from one device to another, right? So it is defined as a collective name for a USB cable plugged into a USB port to transmit data from one device to another. That is a USB connection. Now, let us look at another term, which is a USB device. A USB device. So the name of the device that plugs into a USB port on a computer, right? The name of a device that plugs onto a USB port on a computer. This is what we refer to as a USB device. So very good example of USB devices, we have got flash drives, right? Flash drives, or you can, some they refer to them as memory sticks. Some they simply refer to them as flash, right? They simply refer to them as flashes. Some they say USB, right? So that chip that you can use to carry data, right? That you can use as backup, right? You can use this again to transmit data from one computer to the other, right? If you are doing this without an internet, without a network, you can simply plug in that USB device on your computer. You copy whatever data you want to transmit into the USB cable, then you eject it, then you plug it on another computer, then you copy that information, right? You move that information or you copy to that computer. So that is a USB device. Now the last one is called an Ethernet, right? An Ethernet. So it is another type of connection that is faster, right? It is faster than the USB Ethernet. So another type of connection that can be used to transmit data within a network, you can use Ethernet. So those Ethernet cables that we use for internet connection, we can also use them for transmitting data, right? The only difference between an Ethernet cable that gives you data and the one that has got the functionality of transmitting data would be in the wiring of the cables, right? In the wiring of the cables, that's where the difference is. So you can have an Ethernet cable that you can use to create a network for the purpose of file sharing, and you can also have an Ethernet cable that you create for the purpose of providing an internet connection. So that is an Ethernet. So now let us look at the advantages, right? We want to look at the advantages and disadvantages of USB. So a USB cable, the advantages is that it provides, a USB has got a simple interface, right? It has got a simple interface. There is no any other way that you can use to try to connect a USB. It has got a simple interface. It doesn't matter wherever you are, be in whatever continent that you are, the connection is the same, right? It doesn't need anybody to have lessons first for you to be able to connect a USB. So it has got a very, very simple interface. And the disadvantage being that the length, right, of a USB, it is normally limited to 5 meters. That's the disadvantage, right? It is limited to 5 meters, meaning to say you cannot transmit data or using a USB connection on a distance that is more than 5 meters, because the cables are limited to 5 meters. And the other advantage is that transmitting data using USB is relatively high. The speed, right? The speed of a USB connection is relatively high, so data can be transferred much quicker, right? And the disadvantage, in as much as the speed of transmission is high, however, we cannot compare it to the likes of an Ethernet cable. An Ethernet cable has got, much, greater speed as compared to the USB cable in terms of data transmission. So those are the advantages and disadvantages of the USB cable. So please like my video, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel, contact me, right, using the links in the video description below. Please contact me on my various social media platforms, and again, my WhatsApp number, which is for both calls and WhatsApp, is appearing on your screen. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Facebook, follow me on my page, on my profile on Facebook, as well as LinkedIn. I'm also on LinkedIn, right? So those are my social media handles. See you in the next video. Thank you very much.